Hello everybody, how's it going? Hope you're all well, and welcome back to the channel where we've got some...
This video is sponsored by MPB. Well, I do not claim to be an expert on lens construction, but I know that they shouldn't look like that. The VND is basically wedded to the front element, and I'm sure they'll live happy, long lives together in landfill. I'm not going to throw the lens away, I'll get it repaired, but that bit I think is totaled. 2 videos ago I think it was, I was talking about selling this lens and it was listening because then it threw itself on the floor and it wasn't even that windy. Well, I mean obviously it was, but I didn't think it was that windy. Doesn't look like a cheap repair, does it? But I'm going to try and park that for today because in this video I want to talk about my 1,500 mile-ish round trip to and from and around the Isle of Harris in Scotland.
So I reckon, sorry I'm in Marks and Spencer's at the moment, just stocking up my shopping for my camper van, but I reckon I reckon low tide probably.
Okay.
Because especially if you go round to the other side of Luscombe, so if you go down to the car park and then walk round for about a mile, then the low tide there is really interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm asking you, I'm on my way and I don't know what the tide's doing, so I probably should have looked that up before I...
You probably should have looked that up. All prepared as always, James.
Never mind. Thanks, mate. Speak soon.
Yeah. See you later. Bye.
See you, mate. So, basically I'm on my way to Luscombe Beach, which is a very famous beach here on Harris, very popular with photographers because of its beauty. And Nigel spent a month a couple of years back on Luscombe for one of his projects that he made a brilliant book out of. And yeah, I thought I'd phone him for some advice. Looks a bit gloomy though. Couldn't see a thing.
I've not done a ton of research for this trip, but I did have a quick look on Google and saw this lighthouse and I thought, well, I've got to go there. And I'm pleased I'm here. Looking forward to exploring. Nothing wrong with doing research for a trip, of course, but I do find if I'm coming somewhere like this and I spend too long researching, I end up with loads of pins on a Google map and the trip just becomes about getting to all of those pins rather than actually exploring and seeing what you see. So yeah, I don't like to over research. I did have a quick look on Google Street View actually though, for the road yesterday that I was driving on, and typical for Street View and for a coast road, it was bathed in amazing light. And then I got there and my experience was a bit more Scottish. Ooh, it's a bit chilly. My favourite thing about Scotland, that passing places. You can drive on any Scottish road that looks like this, single track, and you can do so without fear that if you meet something, there's not going to be anywhere to reverse for 3 miles. There's always somewhere sensible to pull over on a Scottish road. It's fantastic. By the way, since we're here, what do you think of this camera versus this camera? This one is the Sony A7 Mark IV, and this one is my iPhone. Much of a difference? I'm just curious. Yeah.
Yeah, the first half of the trip, I was just so gutted that there was no light. I mean, for the first couple of hours of the trip, there was some light when I got off the ferry. But then the clouds came over and the light didn't really return, apart from a few seconds here and there where it would pop out unexpectedly. And normally, when that happened, I was driving. So I sort of had to just throw the car into a bush and then just shoot wherever I happened to be, at the roadside, obviously. So that was annoying, but maybe the light would come out later in the trip, which we'll have a look at in a minute. But Apple Log, wow. I've been skeptical of Apple Log up until now, basically up until I was forced to try it because my lens fell over. But I've had several friends tell me that I should really take a look at it, and I'm no video colorist, and I think some of this footage needs a bit more work. But overall, I'm mega impressed. I mean, I need an ND filter for my phone, but I find the prospect of being able to use this for a lot of my video stuff very, very exciting because, as you know, or as many of you know, I've become a bit of a minimalist when it comes to camera gear of late. This is my camera bag, or what I prefer to term a camera accessory bag. I've got a power bank in there, tiny little tripod, microphone, and a couple of batteries for my camera. That's it. And if I no longer have to take a dedicated camera for video as well, then I'll be much fleeter of foot. Is that a phrase? Fleeter of fleet? You know what I mean. It'd be amazing. So, just looking at my gear shelf, I might be able to sell some more equipment, which would be nice. And that is where today's sponsor comes in, MPB. Basically, if you've got kit to sell to free up some cash, then you can get an instant quote for that kit on MPB. And if you're happy with that quote, they will arrange for a courier to come to your house and collect it. And then once they've checked it over, basically they're making sure that you've not listed it as like new and then sent this. Once they've done that, they'll pay you very quickly. It's a fantastic service. Also, if you're looking to expand your kit, MPB is always the first place I check for stock. And you can save an awful lot of money by buying used, and on MPB you can do so safe in the knowledge that experts have checked all the kit before it's listed on the site, and also everything comes with a warranty. So yeah, if you're looking to make changes to your gear, then definitely check out MPB, and a massive thank you to them for their continued support of this channel. Right, where were we? Light, or lack of it.
Well, this is day number 6, I think, of not much to report in the way of light. There is a little bit of light on the horizon right now, actually, but I can't chase it because I'm on an island and I've not got a boat. Now, flat light isn't always a bad thing, I don't think. It allows you to concentrate on colour as opposed to contrast, and it means that you can shoot in any direction, which can be nice. But yeah, 6 straight days of it is a bit much. I do like photographing fishing apparatus though, and that does benefit from flat light. Very colourful.
So yeah, the long and the short of it is that I spent the entire trip in a sulk for what at the time I thought was purely down to light. The more I've thought about it though since I've been back, the more I've realised that I don't think it was just light. I mean, I was also annoyed at myself for being annoyed. I don't want to be the kind of photographer who gets frustrated when things don't go in accordance with plan A. But I did last week. Anyway, the thinking that I've done this week has been around the fact that I think photographers need 2 things to be engaged in the process of taking photos. The first is a why. And in the words of Simon Sinek, start with why, which is a great TED talk. If you've not seen it, I'll link it in the description. And in my photography, at least, I feel like I've got a really strong what I shoot. My book, Human Nature, does a pretty good job of outlining that. It's basically the relationship between man-made things and nature, and also the relationship between the ordinary and the extraordinary. Like, I'm not that fussed these days about shooting extraordinary looking mountains. Equally, I'm not that fussed about shooting ordinary looking restaurants. But put those two things together and I'm very interested in shooting that scene. I'm not that fussed about shooting lorries, but if those lorries are on their side after a crash in the desert, very interested. Sheep grazing in a housing estate, definitely into that. I won't give you loads of examples, you can check out my portfolio, but that is what I like to shoot. My how, I think I've got pretty dialed as well. I've talked a lot on this channel before about how I like to shoot and the concept of thin glass, whereby I don't really like to look at or shoot things like long exposures or photos taken really low to the floor at 16mm, because when I see those photos, I don't really see the photo itself. I just sort of see the fingerprints of the photographer who took the photo. I see their decision making and what they were thinking, and yeah, maybe that's just because I'm a photographer myself, but I don't engage with those photos. So I like to shoot at pretty standard focal lengths. I like to use shutter speeds that sort of freeze everything in the frame, so I'm not dealing with motion blur and stuff. I stand up for pretty much all of my shots because I want the scenes to look as though you could have just walked into them. Yeah, so that's how I shoot. But my why, I feel like I've got a pretty strong why as well, but I just sort of forget it sometimes. I need a book to explain this, actually. So this is one of my favourite photography books, Joel Meyerowitz, Where I Find Myself. And on page 225, I think it is, this way, there are a couple of photos from my hometown, or what is nearly my hometown. And the two photos from here in this book were taken in 1966. And if you look at this top one, I would bet, and there's no way to prove it, so it's a pointless bet, but I would bet that that scene has never looked like that ever since. And what are we talking? 60 years, 59 years at the moment. There has never been a cloud like that in that exact place. And in the lower half of the photo, everything has changed in the town now. And obviously it will have continuously in the past 60 years. And that is what drives me on to take photos, to be honest. The fact that you can document something that will never look the same again. And on Harris, I really struggled with that, to be honest, because, I mean, it's a phenomenal place to go for landscape photography, for instance, but I didn't find a whole lot of like dynamism in the scenes. I went back to Luscantire another day and there were some people on the beach and I had fun shooting them, but aside from that, often I was shooting quite sort of still things in weather that's pretty sort of replicable across different days. Grey, flat light, and the look of things wasn't changing from moment to moment or hour to hour, or even day to day, really. I was kind of looking at scenes thinking, well, the forecast suggests that this is going to look exactly the same tomorrow. And it was right. Every day. So that was the first problem. I struggled to get in touch with my why. And secondly, I struggled to get into the flow. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with the concept of flow. But basically, it's when you're engaged in a task which is achievable, but requires basically all of your concentration in order to achieve it. So it's when something's hard, but not too hard to complete. You end up in this really nice state of productivity. And on Harris, I really struggled to get into it because things were either too easy to shoot because they weren't fleeting moments, or they were impossible to shoot because I was in the wrong place at the wrong time and the light lasted 2 seconds when I was in the wrong bit of road and couldn't pull over. And yeah, I didn't get into flow. And I think that was the problem with Harris. I suppose a completely messed up lens didn't help either. But yeah, if I could offer any sort of teachable moment from my trip and 7 days of being in a mood, it would be that it's really important to keep front of mind why it is that you're shooting, and also to think about how you could end up in this state of flow, how you can make things quite tricky for yourself, but achievable, and how you can shoot in places that give you that. Yeah, Have I missed anything? Once again, I don't know if I'm making sense in this video. Par for the course. I think I've covered everything. That's enough waffle for one video, but I appreciate you watching. And actually, I will say, I made a page on my website with all the photos from Harris. And actually, I think some of them, or a lot of them really, turned out okay. I quite like the story that sort of runs through all the photos. I'll link to that in the description as well. So I suppose the other lesson is not to trust your emotions and that they accurately depict how the photography is going. Anyway, hopefully in the next video, I'll be in a bit of a better mood and we'll be feeling a bit better about the stuff that I'm making. We'll see. Fingers crossed.